So you're not used to seeing this for the innovation conversation, because normally when Tom Furphy and I do the innovation conversation every other Wednesday, what we do is we do it by email. I send him an email, he sends me back an email, we go back and forth, and that's what we do. And that's largely because we're almost never in the same place at the same time. Well, here we are, same place, same time, So we thought this would be fun. We'll do it live. And so here we go. And I think this is an appropriate thing to do, though, because I've been reading a lot of stories about Walmart and Jet over the last couple of weeks. They had their annual report, 2 weeks ago, not annual, and all their numbers look great. And basically, the consensus seems to be, if you read a lot of the analysts and a lot of the media, I hate the media bash, but it's pretty much over now for Amazon, right? I mean, I saw people who I respect saying, Walmart, it's Amazon's worst nightmare. And it's pretty much over. So it was a nice run, but I guess Walmart's figured it out.
Absolutely, yeah. It was nice. It was a great run for Amazon, but I think that's pretty much it.
Oh, well.
No, of course
okay.
not.
Yeah. So your stock now while it's $1,000 a share.
Exactly. No, I mean, I think clearly Walmart is to be commended for what they're doing. I mean, making that jet acquisition, the things they're doing, the innovation, the agility that they're showing is pretty remarkable. Right, for a company that 5, 6, 7 years ago, nobody could see them doing any of the stuff that they're doing. So,
and let's give a lot of credit to Doug McMillon and Mark Lord.
Absolutely,
right? I mean,
yeah,
absolutely.
It was a big bet, and they took a big swing, and I think it's paying off. They've done really, really well. Amazon is still increasing their lead, and I think that's really hard for people to kind of wrap their heads around. You saw all over CNBC and all the analysts and everybody last week saying, yeah, if I was Amazon, I wouldn't sleep well at night. I've got my notes here, just a kind of a quick check-in on the numbers, right? Roughly, Amazon's gross merchandise sales, that's their first-party, third-party products that they sell across both, roughly $300 billion, up roughly 18% year over year. So call that roughly $54 billion in growth. And that's e-commerce growth, that's all growth for Amazon.
That includes stores.
That doesn't include
stores. Does not include stores.
Yeah, actually, no, I'm sorry. It does include Whole Foods within there. But
okay.
Whole Foods is not going to drive a big percentage of growth when you're talking about this kind of growth. So up $54 billion. Keep that in mind. Walmart's e-commerce sales were $11 billion, went up 43%. That means they grew $4.8 billion to Amazon's $54 billion in growth. So that's good, but it's far
10% of the growth.
Now, but Walmart is a store-based retailer, so let's include Walmart stores. Walmart at $500 billion in store volume, up 4%. That means they had $20 billion in store growth, plus their $4.8 billion in e-commerce growth. That means they had a total of $24.8 billion in growth. Compare that to Amazon's $54 billion. So Amazon still grew by almost $30 billion more than Walmart last year. So I think that we love to. It's becoming a little bit trendy to bet against Amazon now and have a little bit of an anti-Amazon sentiment, which as companies become large, as they become more controlling, more pervasive, that is a natural thing to happen. But Amazon is still taking share of retail away from Walmart and other retailers. They're still growing very disproportionately, and I think that we should not sit back and say Amazon's going to take over the world and let them do that. But I think we also need to realize that Amazon's doing a whole bunch of things that shoppers are saying when they vote with their dollars that they're doing right. And as retailers, we need to be watching some of that, learning from that, and then turning our focus on our own shoppers to really focus on them and serve them in the right way.
I mean, it is interesting, and maybe it's perfectly human and natural that people, they want to find the negatives, right? In Amazon, I mean, I still talk to retailers all the time who are still convinced that the Amazon is a house of cards. It's going to fall apart. They think, I get a fair point. But they think that they believe that Amazon Go has been overhyped. And it is remarkable to me, and it's kind of denial, I suppose, that it's hard to imagine for them that Amazon can continue to grow and excel despite the fact that it does make mistakes. We've talked about this on the innovation conversation. Because they take big swings, they also swing and they miss sometimes. It's more obvious because they're bigger. And because everything they're doing is, not everything they're doing, but so much of what they're doing is counterintuitive also to what traditional retailers do, they just can't imagine it can work and be sustained.
Well, I mean, I don't know that Amazon's batting average is any worse or better than it always has been, right? They have a batting average where they get up to the plate, they take big swings, and, you know, as Jeff Bezos would say, it's not an experiment if you know that it's going to be successful, right? So they've always failed on lots of things they've tried. That has historically been out of the sight of competition, out of the sight of analysts, out of the sight of consumers, so that they've had that, you know, kind of ability to do that quietly. Now with store formats, now with the Go format and different things in Whole Foods and different things they're doing, they're going to be taking swings and stubbing their toes in plain view of the public, and they're okay with that. But I think if you're to pick out one thing that Amazon's doing, and if you don't agree with it, or if you see Amazon struggling at it, to think that, well, there you go, that's the beginning of the end of Amazon, no. You know, that is one node of innovation that they're working on, and they're willing to innovate and, you know, keep trying and iterating on that. And, you know, whether it's Go formats, whether it's different types of delivery, whether it's what they're doing at Whole Foods, whether it's new formats that they'll be introducing, you know, I think you're going to see lots and lots of stuff that Amazon's doing because they want to be a very comprehensive solution for their shoppers.
It's also interesting, I find that there's a lot of negativity about Whole Foods. And I constantly am hearing from people or reading Whole Foods now has lost a couple of steps. Whole Foods is not what it used to be. I gotta be honest, I mean, there's a Whole Foods around the corner from my house. I walk there 2-3 times a week. I don't do comprehensive shops there, but I do shop there. It's not my experience. I mean, the store's still pretty good. Guy in the seafood department, he still talks to me. I mean, there's a lot going on there. So I'm not seeing it. And so I'm so little surprised that, unless it's just, again, collective negativity, that they're getting bashed so much about Whole Foods.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of collective negativity. I don't personally see a big step back or any kind of real stumble. I see them trying things, which I think is to be commended.
And by the way, Whole Foods had problems. That's
Before.
the reason they were
Absolutely.
available to be bought by Amazon.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think a lot of the issues they had, many have been fixed. There's probably some new issues as well. That's what happens in these living, breathing organisms that are retailers. They're not all perfect.
Well, I think it's a great point. I think it's really important, again, not to, I think people come up to me all the time, I'm sure it happens to you too, saying, oh, you're such a cheerleader for Amazon. I always say, listen, it's not that I'm a cheerleader. I'm just trying to be objective about what they're doing and recognizing that they're having just an enormous impact on, and I'm trying not to be in denial.
Well, again, they grew by $54 billion last year. They grew by an amount that's bigger than all but a handful of retailers. So consumers are voting that they like what Amazon is doing and trying, and I think we should all, you know, spend some time just watching Amazon, not necessarily emulating them, but let's get some cues for what they're doing, and as we look to serve our customers, let's learn from them.
Well, and as you say, sometimes you emulate them, and sometimes you figure out what the opportunity is to do exactly the opposite thing.
Absolutely.
Because that's what your strength is, which is not necessarily going to be what their strength is.
It comes down to what your customers need and what you can provide better than anyone.
Anyway, well, this has been a taped version of the Innovation Conversation. I like this.
This is fun.
This is a lot of fun. I guess I have to move to Seattle, or you have to move to Connecticut. I know you're not moving to Connecticut, so we'll do it that way. And as we always say at the end of every Innovation Conversation, the conversation will continue.